Have 30 days to move out, my mother said with a smirk. We sold your apartment to Lisa. I smiled and held up a document. Actually, Grandma left me 2 properties. Their smiles vanished when they realized I wasn't just fighting for my home. I was about to turn their greed into their downfall. Now, they're the ones scrambling for a place to live. You have 30 days to move out, my mother said with a smirk. We sold your apartment to Lisa. I smiled and held up a document. Actually, Grandma left me 2 properties. Their smiles vanished as when they realized you have 30 days to move out. My mother's mother smirked, her perfectly manicured nails drumming against my kitchen counter. We sold your apartment to Lisa. I stood in my sun-filled kitchen, the same kitchen where I'd hosted countless family dinners, built my catering business from scratch, and nursed my grandmother through her final days. The morning light cast long shadows across the hardwood floor she'd helped me restore, making the space feel almost surreal. My name is Sarah Mitchell, and at 35, I never expected to be facing eviction from my own home by my own family. Don't look so shocked. My brother James chimed in from beside her, his arm wrapped protectively around his wife Lisa's shoulders. You barely use this place anyway, always traveling for your catering events. Lisa needs a proper home now that the baby's coming. The baby, of course. Lisa's pregnancy had become the family's latest excuse for giving my brother everything he wanted. Just like they had all through our childhood. I took a slow sip of my coffee, enjoying the momentary flash of uncertainty that crossed my mother's face at my calmness. And you thought selling my apartment was the solution? Well, it's not technically yours anymore, my mother said, pulling out a folder of papers. Your father and I kept our names on the deed when you moved in, remember, for tax purposes. Her smile turned predatory. We signed the papers yesterday. Lisa and James get possession in 30 days. I thought about the last conversation I'd had with my grandmother just weeks before she passed. She'd been sitting in this very kitchen, her eyes sharp. Despite her failing health, they'll try to take it from you, she warned. Your mother never did forgive me for not giving her this building when she married your father. The apartment had been in my grandmother's family for generations. The entire building, actually, a beautiful pre-war structure in one of the city's most desirable neighborhoods. My mother had grown up here expecting to inherit it all. Instead, my grandmother had different plans. I know what you did with the money I gave you, she told me that day, watching as I needed dough for her favorite roles, investing in your business, building something real, not like James with his failed startups, and Lisa with her Instagram lifestyle brand. She'd reached into her bag, pulling out an envelope. Keep this safe, don't tell them until you have to. Now, standing in my kitchen facing my family's betrayal, I felt the weight of that envelope in my desk drawer upstairs. Actually, I said, keeping my voice steady, we should probably discuss something. I walked to my office, aware of their impatient stares behind me. My mother had never approved of me turning the second bedroom into a workspace. A proper lady needs a proper guest room, she'd sniffed. I returned with my own folder, worn at the edges, but meticulously maintained. Before we talk about me moving out, you might want to see this. What is that? Lisa asked, speaking for the first time. She looked uncomfortable, one hand resting on her barely visible bump. The real deed, I said, simply laying it on the counter, and the proof of ownership for the building next door. My mother's face went pale as she read the documents. 2 properties, both transferred to my name 3 years ago, signed and notarized with my grandmother's distinct signature. The apartment had never belonged to my parents. My grandmother had kept their names on the rental agreement to keep the peace, but the property had passed directly to me. This can't be legal, my mother sputtered, her composed facade cracking. Oh, it's legal, I assured her. Mr. Patterson handled everything himself. The mention of my grandmother's longtime lawyer made her flinch. You might want to check the validity of your sale to Lisa and James. It's hard to sell something you don't own. James grabbed the papers, his face turning an interesting shade of red. You knew about this the whole time you let us go through with the sale. I found out about your plans weeks ago, I admitted. Grandmother always said it's better to let people show their true colors. The silence in my kitchen was deafening. Lisa had sunk into one of my bar stools, looking ill. My mother was still staring at the deed like she could change it through sheer force of will. You should have told us, she finally said, her voice tight with anger. Like you should have told me you were selling my home. I countered. The home I've lived in for 10 years. The home where I took care of grandmother when none of you would. The memories came flooding back, the late nights balancing my fledgling catering business with grandmother's care. James, too busy with his latest venture to help my parents, conveniently traveling during the hardest months. I put my life on hold while they carried on as usual, secure in their assumption that the building would eventually be theirs to control. What are we supposed to do now? Lisa asked quietly. We already sold our apartment. I felt a twinge of sympathy for her. Lisa had always seemed swept along by my family's dynamics, trying to please everyone. I'm not heartless, I said. The building next door has a vacant unit on the 3rd floor, same layout as this one. Actually, you can rent it at market rate rent. James exploded from my aunt's sister. Would you prefer to find something else in the neighborhood? I asked mildly. I hear the new luxury building down the street has openings. Of course, their 2 bedrooms start at twice what I'm offering. My mother stood up, suddenly gathering her papers with shaking hands. This isn't over, she said, but her voice lacked conviction. Your grandmother had no right. She had every right. I cut in. This building was her legacy, and she chose how to pass it on. If you'll excuse me, I have a meeting with my property manager to discuss some updates to the security system. I watched them file out, noting how James wouldn't meet my eyes, how Lisa lingered for a moment like she wanted to say something before following them. My Mother was last pausing in the doorway. You've changed, she said, and I couldn't tell if it was an accusation or a realization. No, I replied, I've just stopped pretending to be who you wanted me to be. After they left, I walked through my apartment touching the walls. My grandmother and I had painted together looking out the windows, where we'd watch countless sunsets. In my office, I opened the drawer and pulled out her envelope, now empty of its crucial documents, but still containing her last letter to me. Remember, she'd written, sometimes the best revenge is simply being prepared, and sometimes the greatest gift we can give is letting people face the consequences of their own actions. I smiled, thinking of how she'd seen this coming years ago. My phone buzzed. A text from Lisa. Can we talk about the apartment next door, just us? Maybe I thought some good could come from all this after all. But first I had a security system to upgrade after all, as grandmother always said. Being prepared meant staying prepared. Outside, the city bustled on, unaware of the drama that had just unfolded in my kitchen. I had work to do, a catering business to run, properties to manage, and a family to keep at arm's length. But for now I just stood in my kitchen in my home, and let myself feel the quiet satisfaction of standing my ground. The next few days brought a flurry of activity I hadn't anticipated. First came the angry calls from my father, who had been conveniently absent during the initial confrontation. Your mother is beside herself, he said, his voice carrying that familiar note of disappointment. How could you embarrass the family like this? I was in my catering kitchen prepping for a weekend wedding when he called. Embarrass the family, I repeated, carefully piping rosettes onto a 3-tier cake. By owning property, or by stopping you from illegally selling my home? Don't be difficult, Sarah, we were trying to help your brother.